There up ahead is the Abbey of Saint-Pierre, St. Peter, Saint-Pierre in Moissac. And we go in, hopefully, if it's open, to the cloisters.
Moissac is 30 kilometers west of Montauban in southwest France.
So this is the entrance of the Abbey Saint-Pierre in Moissac.
The Abbey Church of Saint-Pierre, the tympanum was sculpted between 1110 and 1230, and it shows the Apocalypse of John. It was a fortified church, complete with castellations and archers' gallery, and history states that it was founded by St. Didier of Cahors in the 7th century. But there are other stories which are a little bit different. And the Merovingian white marble sarcophagus, carved from Pyrenean marble, can be seen in the church, as we'll see later. Moissac was originally in the Lot department, but in 1808 Napoleon created a new department called the Tarn-et-Garonne, and it was attached to this as it is today.
So this sarcophagus is made from Pyrenees marble, and it dates from a long time ago. And it was used in 1245 for the body of the Abbé Raymond de Montpezat. Like many medieval churches, the walls were all painted. This is a 14th century wood carving of Jesus being put in his tomb. It's quite a majestic abbey church, and it still is in use today. Like most medieval churches, they were all quite colourful and painted, not just bare stone, as you can see with this. The organ dates from the 16th century. Apparently when it's heated up, it sounds absolutely amazing and shakes the place. Relics of Saint-Cyprien, who was the Archbishop of Carthage, which is in modern day, I think, Tunisia. And they were brought here in 1122, which makes Saint-Cyprien the patron saint of the town of Moissac. In the past, it was taken through the village on like a platform, and it would be plunged into the river Tarn during the time when it was a heat wave and there was no rain, to pray for rain for the local farmers. This is Christ on the cross, and it dates from 1130, this carving. Pretty amazing. It's a 14th century carving of Jesus with Mary and Joseph, and it's called Escape to Egypt. It's again another sculpture, not on wood this time, but it was sculpted in 1476. This is Joan of Arc.
Legend tells us that the church, the abbey, was built the day after Clovis defeated the Visigoths in a battle in 506.
And all these sculptures tell a story. Some of them have obviously been eaten away by time and possibly pollution.
Legend also tells us that in 506, Clovis had this abbey built with 1,000 monks that were going to be in the abbey to commemorate 1,000 of his men that were killed in battles. But, once again, it's a legend.
It looks like there's a Sunday market on here. Just going to try and get a coffee first of all. So this is the little market in Moissac. It's a Sunday morning, obviously a lot less people than in the summer, but it is a beautiful day. See the sun up there. Queuing up for cheese. Pink garlic from Lautrec, which is, as you guessed, where Toulouse de Lautrec came from. These prunes from Agen, which is just up the road. These are by a local sculptor. I think he comes from Revel. You see these all over the place. And you even see them in the airport.
It proved really difficult to build the abbey due to attacks from the Moors from the southwest, coming up from Spain, and Vikings from the north. The abbey was sacked by the Arabs of Al-Andalus in 732 and looted by Norman pirates in the 9th century, and later in the 10th century by Hungarians. In 1030, the roof collapsed and was badly damaged later in 1042 by fire, and a new church building was added in 1063. In 1626, secularization of the abbey caused Benedictine monks to leave the cloister, which had been a centre of Benedictine life for over 1,000 years, as they were replaced by Augustin cardinals. In 1793, the French Revolution put an end to monastic life, and the outlying buildings were badly damaged, and much of the former abbey has been destroyed, but the cloister and the church remain intact to this day.
And this over here is called the Monk's Tower, and here it looks like, I've seen these in Toulouse, these look like monks' cells where they used to live, but that's only me saying that. This may not be true. This is closer to the Monk's Tower. It just feels so historic around here. As we can see over here, there are some more sort of outbuildings of the abbey. This would have all been the abbey here before the revolution. The French Revolution destroyed a lot of it. This is Moissac is on the pilgrimage route of Saint-Jacques de Compostelle, and down here, it's called a coquille, meaning the shell, is a gîte where the pilgrims can stay, and they're all over the place. So I guess those are sort of vestiges of the French Revolution, because in the church is inscribed Liberté, Égalité and Fraternité, which is the motto of the French Republic. It's the church of Saint-Jacques in Moissac, and I'll tell you more about that in a bit. So this is the church of Saint-Jacques. It's actually, in French, it's the Church of Saint-Jean, and it was founded in 1216 by the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, and in 1520 the Order of St. John of Jerusalem became the Order of Malta. So this is quite an old church. We can't go in it, it's closed. Called the Rue de l'Inondation de 1930, 1930. And this is sort of a memorial to the flood of 1930, which devastated the town, and it killed over 120 people in Moissac. And as you know, it's a small place, as you can probably figure out. So it was quite a big population of the town. So these houses date from the 30s, because the others were all destroyed. And this is the Canal de Garonne, where a lot of these houses would have been, probably more towards the Tarn, which we'll see in a minute, the River Tarn. These would have been millers' houses, because they used to mill a lot of flour here, which would then go by boat, either on the Garonne, well, the Tarn first of all, which then joins the Garonne, or up the canal to Bordeaux, and then it would be transported from there to the United States and Canada, all the way from Little Moissac. Over there on the other side is the big mill. So this would have been the main mill where the farmers brought their grain to be milled before it was sent on a boat to Bordeaux and the sea, and then off to Canada mainly and the USA. The Monument aux Morts, so the remembrance of the two World Wars, 1914-18 and the Second World War, and also of the war in Tunisia, Morocco and Algeria. This also recognises the resistance fighters who lost their lives. Resistance was quite active around this area because there was a lot of German occupation here. Here are memorials. It's called the Memorials of the Righteous, and it's particularly about two people, Châtier-Boully-Simon, which I think were Jewish, that saved over 650 Jewish children from being deported or worse, being killed. And none of them were actually killed during the Second World War. And here we have another, it's called the Esplanade of the Righteous. And this one says it's in honour and recognition of the population of Moissac, who were able to protect, help and save hundreds of young kids and Jewish adolescents during the dark years of the occupation of the Nazis. And it's an honour and recognition of women and men who were brave in this city or this town, who opened their hearts and their houses to the persecuted during the barbarism Nazi. And it's the old of Moissac, all the kids who were deported, the 5th December 1939 to the 5th of December 1950. And here they are. And the kids actually came from all over Europe during the war and were sheltered here. And they couldn't do it on their own, okay? There was, especially the couple, but all these people here helped look after and shelter these kids. And it was also done with help from the people in Moissac. So they weren't turning their back on them, which is really, really good. Is the Tarn River, which further down, I don't know how much further down, but further down, joins the Garonne and then empties into the sea at Bordeaux. So it comes from the Pyrenees Mountains. Or does it? The Tarn doesn't actually, that's the Garonne I was thinking of. Those that pass remember that faced with the Nazi barbarism and the massive collaboration of the French state from 1940 to 1945, the righteous amongst the nations have been recognized by the Institute Yad Vashem of Jerusalem. They saved the Jews from danger and peril, and it says that who saves one life saves the whole universe, according to the Talmud. Canal de Garonne, which was first constructed at the end of the 15th century, and it became one of the biggest mills in the region in the 18th century, and a big part of the local economy was actually based around this, and it was very, very dependent upon it actually working well alongside both the Tarn River and the canal. So if you like walking, good place to come to. That probably is the older part of the mill, which is built originally from Toulouse brick, like a lot of places around here. You want to notice that many places around this area are not made from stone, but more likely brick. That over there is the Pont Napoleon, and the Pont Napoleon was built in 1826 at the order of Napoleon I. The old port was under the bridge, and there were lots of former millers' houses, but because of this has been flooded so many times, there's probably not much of them. And basically, as I was saying before, the port served to take the local flour, some grain as well, but most of it was milled, wine and grapes, the Chasselas grape. And just, you know, a fun fact is that Chasselas grape is the first fresh fruit to be awarded an AOC, Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée. And it's a grape that's grown here now. In the past it wouldn't have been, because it's a table grape, it's a dessert grape, it's an eating grape, it's not a wine grape. And in the past they would have grown a lot of wine grapes around here, not particularly great wine I would imagine, nothing like Bordeaux or Bourguignon or the rest, but they used to grow a lot, and it was all changed by the growing of Chasselas dessert grapes. The Chasselas de Moissac, very well known. There in its glory is the Napoleon Bridge in Moissac, spanning the Tarn River majestically. So this is called the Kiosk of L'Uvarium. It was built in 1932, and it was like one of those things that was built for pleasure. If you can imagine it, it's at the junction of the Tarn and the canal. The canal's just over to the right there, and this would have been where people came to walk, to promenade in their best Sunday stuff, taking into account that most people worked at least 6 days a week, and they put on their best clothes on Sunday, probably go to the church, and then come down here where there would have been music, there would have been dancing, there would have been pictures. I mean, picture Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe, you know, the famous painting. It's that type of thing. France had just come out of a really devastating war, The 1914-1918 war, it was devastating for everybody, but we'll just talk about this. This is mainly an agrarian region, and so machinery wouldn't have been used too much. So in fact, what was worked on the land was men who worked the land, and it was generally families, and generally families had a few kids who could help them on the land. Now, in 1918, at the end of this, and the ensuing years, they needed something to enjoy. They needed enjoyment, and these type of places were built just for that. Don't forget that if you look on any of the war memorials in France, you see lots of very young teenagers, basically, who were wiped out, whole families virtually. You see the same name, and so it was really devastating for places like this, for anywhere, but especially agricultural areas. And this was one of those things that was built by the town for people to go and enjoy themselves, and that they did. And you can just imagine this on this beautiful late November day, people coming down here, walking along here, taking in some fresh air, and just, you know, having a picnic or having a dance and what would they call a ganguette alongside the river. It would have been absolutely beautiful. That is the Uvarium. They used to have a lot of here, not only food, but it would be where people came to drink the juice of the Chasselas grapes, sorry. And as you see, they've taken this up again. They've taken the flambeau up, and they've got here, probably more in the summer, in fact definitely more in the summer, but this will be a big ganguette. So it'll be restaurant, maybe music, maybe dancing, whatever. But it's a nice old Art Deco little kiosk, and there, drying out in the centre of the river, are some cormorants. Did you know, another fun fact, cormorants' wings are actually not waterproof, and they can only do so much diving for fish, for their principal food, in fact probably their only food, and then they have to dry their wings, because otherwise they get waterlogged and they drown, and that's why they're there. And that cormorant's just got rid of that seagull. Get off, this is cormorant land. Plane trees, in fact we have plane trees in Tarn-et-Garonne which are about this size, and they were actually planted by Napoleon. So this could be the same case here. This would obviously give lovely shady walks in the summer when it's warm. This is how the Uvarium would have looked in the 1930s. Very popular place. This is the cloister of the Abbey in Moissac.
The cloister has 76 what they call capitals. These are sculpted pillars with biblical or local stories dating from the 11th century.
This here is St. Peter. And over here is St. Paul. You can go for a guided visit here, which is €9 per person. If you want to go by yourself, like I am, they give you some literature. I've done a bit of homework as well. It's €7, which I don't know if it's worth it, but it's fabulous. Right, now we can go up to the bell tower, apparently, up here. Let's go. Keeps climbing. Let's keep going. We have to stop here. These are called tâcherons, and they're actually the signatures of the stone cutters. You can see down into the church where we were earlier is a model of the 10th century organ that was here. Symbolically, there are 12 arches, as there were in Jerusalem. And these signatures are the stonecutters. The stonecutters were actually called lapicides, and they left their little signatures here, and they would know amongst them who had carved which pillar, which stone, etc. Sometimes we find the same signature of the same stonecutter on other pillars. A lot of them use triangles, some of them use scrolls, some of them use like an inverted W. It's amazing architecture, how it all stays up. I'm going to go back down that spiral staircase.
The Abbey of Saint-Pierre, it dates from the 9th century, was supposedly founded by Clovis, the Frankish king, but that's up for debate. It's a major stop, and it still is today, on the Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage route. And the cloister is the only one in the world that has survived intact.
And all of these capitals, the top of the pillars that is, all 78 of them, show some story, either, as I said, from the Bible or from local life. So we'll see some. For example, we have up here some sort of animal. Now these may be famous people from here or from the Bible, we don't know. And number 5, I know, is Daniel in the lion's den. You can maybe have a look at that after. This is St. Paul, and you know that because I can read the Latin. It said Apostolos Paulus. This is St. Peter, so maybe what I gave earlier was fake news. On the other corner. It's all very well set out, it's well signposted, but I think most of the signs and the explanations are in French, but you can get a guidebook in English or German or whatever. Well, they've got the wood, you see one there and one over there, is where they've actually taken the chapiteau and they're restoring it. This is the chapel of Saint-Pierre. Is now a museum. And that one is St. John on this corner. On every corner there are 2 apostles. And this one is Jacob. There it is, number 5. Daniel in the Lion's Den. It was quite zen for someone in a den of lions. So this is the bridge that takes the Canal du Midi, or the Canal latéral de la Garonne, over the Tarn River. It's pretty amazing. That's the river. Well, the river's a bit further down, but as you'll see, we'll go on the top and we can see the river from the top. I was going to put a drone up, but it's a bit windy today, so I can't do that. But what an amazing piece of architecture and engineering. Fabulous.
Which was built in 1845 to take the Canal du Midi, which goes from Bordeaux of the Atlantic to the Mediterranean, and it's to take the canal over the River Tarn. It's built from Toulouse brick and Quercy stone. It's 356 meters long, 8.3 meters wide, and it's 2.7 meters deep. There are 13 arches of 20 meters and 2 arches of earth of 5 meters each on both sides. So if you're looking for somewhere to go out for a nice day out in southwest France when you're here, I recommend Moissac. You won't be disappointed.